welcome everybody. I'm glad you can join us today for our spotlight. It's going to be a very interesting program, I think, today. I think you're going to find it fascinating what we're going to hear about. I want to start off by introducing John Weidenhammer, who will do a brief welcome as well on behalf of the Berks Alliance.
Okay, thanks, Dave, and thanks for your efforts to put this together, and welcome everybody. You're going to hear a remarkable story today from a remarkable team. It's hard to believe because they look so young, but Peggy Kirshner and Nikki Schnobel have been working at BCPS for a long time. Peggy for 37 years. She must have started when she was 12, and Nikki 21 years. But during that time, they have helped a lot of people in that maybe had made some bad decisions in their life or got into a jam. You're going to hear about this story, but the results that they've been able to get through their work and what they've achieved is really truly remarkable in my view. So we're just grateful that they're willing to make this presentation, and they'll probably introduce their team members that are going to be helping them with this presentation. But as I typically say, we're grateful to all of you that are tuned in to hear this presentation today. It's part of a continuing series that the Berks Alliance does to kind of talk about issues that are important and critical to the success of our community. And really, the whole mission of the Berks Alliance is really to build a vibrant community where we give an opportunity for everybody to succeed and thrive and grow. And you'll hear as this story unfolds that BCPS does a particularly good job of giving a lot of people a hand up and making a difference in their lives. Which, you know, how much more noble could an occupation be than to be in a role where you can make a difference. So thanks to all of our presenters, and Dave, thanks to you. And Dave, I'll turn it back to you for the rules of engagement.
Okay, thank you, John. Yes, we do have some rules of engagement. We do like to have people turn their video on so we can see that they're really live people we're talking to. But to keep your microphone off so that we, during the presentation, so that we can hear the people and not get disrupted by stuff in the background. We asked you to use the chat function, which you'll find at the bottom of the screen, to submit your comments and questions, and feel free to submit them whenever you want to raise them. Depending on where things stand when we get to the end of this, we will open it up for the questions and comments, and we'll either call on the audience or I'll generate the questions that people speak to us. As John said, we record this and we put it on the Berks Alliance website. We put it to BCTV, and we'll be sending it out to everybody who signs up. Whether you showed up or not, we'll send it out to everybody who signs up for the event. So with that, I'm going to do an even briefer introduction. Since 1975, Berks Connections Pretrial Services has provided support to adult defendants, inmates, returning citizens, and their families throughout Berks County. And as John mentioned, there are co-leaders of the organization, which says something about collaboration and the importance of that, who have spent a long time working in this field. And so with that, I'm going to call on Peggy Kirshner and Nikki Schnobel, close, right? To do our presentation.
All right, thank you so much. So I am Nikki Schnobel. I am half of the Wonder Twins. Peggy Kirshner is my co-executive director. As John mentioned, we do have some of our awesome staff with us today. We have Vanessa Starr, our development director. We have Lori Stout and Kathleen Stone, our dynamic duo of our employment development team. If we have any employers on the call, I'm sure you either know them or will get to know know them. They are absolutely incredible in the work that they do. And I did see we have Leonette Stalker, who is one of our board members joining us today. So we're thrilled to have everyone here. And honestly, I want to thank everyone for signing up, for those that are tuning in today and for those that are going to listen when you get the link. We sincerely appreciate you taking time out of your day to learn about BCPS. One of our goals is to not be Berks County's best kept secret anymore. We honestly do amazing work. We're very proud of the work that we do. We are very grateful to have an incredible team that believes in offering hope, opportunity, and second chances. So we'll start out with, if I can, it's not moving. There we go. Sorry, had to figure out the button. So we'll tell you our story. So as David mentioned, we were founded in 1975 as the Berks County Prison Society. In 2005, we changed our name to Berks Connections Pretrial Services. We stuck with the BCPS, and we go by BCPS because honestly, it's much easier. Although we are contracted with the county for various programming that you'll hear about in a little bit, we are a nonprofit organization. We are funded through contracts with the county, with the state. I saw Dan Fogarty from the Workforce Development Board. They provide funding for us as well for one of our programs. But we work to serve individuals in the criminal justice system and their families. I'm sorry. So as you'll hear through our programming, we really work with individuals from the front end of the system at the time they get arrested. We have a pretrial program. We work with them while they are incarcerated at the Berks County Jail. We follow them out in the community, provide reentry services. And then we have a new initiative, a Pardon Project, that's really a life-changing initiative that will help to get their record erased. So talk about full service. That's what we're all about. So before we get into the description of our program, we wanted to kind of lay a foundation for our why we do what we do and why the work that we do is important. We came upon this graphic that we thought really helped lay the scene. So over the last 40 years, mass incarceration continues to be a problem. Unfortunately, one thing that we're good at in the United States is incarcerating people. As you can see from this graphic, 1 out of 5 prisoners in the entire world are incarcerated here in the United States. And one thing that I thought was really, speaking to this as well is if you look at that far right side of the picture, the United States has as many prisoners as the total of 194 countries with the smallest incarcerated population combined. So there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are in the United States that are affected by the criminal justice system. So to take that step a little bit closer to home and look at Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania has the highest rate of incarceration pro rata than any other country in the world, including the United States. We have the 5th largest prison population in the country. On average, 225,000 criminal cases are initiated every year in Pennsylvania. And looking closer to home, looking at Berks County, at any given time, there are approximately 8,000 individuals living in our Berks County community who are currently under supervision, whether that be the county supervision or state supervision. So we know that, we're incarcerating all of these folks, and what makes sense and what you would hope would happen is the folks, when they're incarcerated, yes, they made a mistake, they did their time, but what's next? They're coming back out into the community. So what we want to do is make sure that these individuals have the tools and skills necessary to have a successful reentry, because it's in all of our best interests, their best interest, their family, the community, that they are successful, because then they don't go back to jail. So as I talked about, or alluded to, I'm sorry, there is a ripple effect. So when an individual gets incarcerated, it's not just an effect on them. The immediate effect is on them. However, there's effects on their families. These post-punishment punishments, someone goes to jail, they do their time, and you would think that's it. But unfortunately, it's not. When someone gets arrested and has a criminal record, that mistake can honestly haunt them for the rest of their life. That criminal record does not go away. Studies have shown that there's over 40,000 barriers that are presented to someone who made a mistake and has a criminal record. We have employers who look at criminal records, and that could be a determinant whether or not they're eligible for certain positions. Educational opportunities could be denied because of a criminal record. All of our state schools have a question on their application: have you ever been arrested? Even if they are granted the opportunity for the education, they may be denied access to financial aid and funding to secure that education. And even if they're successful at doing it, there are certain licenses in Pennsylvania that you cannot get simply because you have a criminal record. And it's not just education and jobs, but families too. Criminal records can prevent someone from, having legal guardianship. We're currently working with an individual who's looking to adopt a child. However, because of a mistake he made 25, 30 years ago, he can't do it. So there's a lot of barriers that are posed that folks don't think about. Even just assisting in a classroom, if you have a child, you have to go through clearances to be able to get into helping at a party at your kid's school or helping to be a coach for Little League. So getting specifically into our programs, we have criminal justice programs and we have reentry programs. So the first program that we're going to talk about is our pretrial services program. And this program started out actually in 1985 as our county bail program. The county came to us at the time and said that they wanted to have a fair and equitable system for bail, because at the time in the county, the private bondsmen were just kind of going crazy and charging folks in obscene amounts of money to get their loved ones out of jail, and really preying on those individuals. So the county's response was to come to BCPS and, well, Prison Society at the time, and asked us to run the community release program. That is a 5% bail program. We facilitate the bail, we don't take the money, and then we provide supervision to the folks. That still is a program that we offer. However, it morphed over the years into a pretrial services program. And the difference there is the shift in focus. When it initially started, it was all about, monetary bail and trying to help people with the lowest amount of money. Our goal now is to really make sure that the economic situation of a person doesn't unnecessarily detain them during the pretrial phase, because when they get arrested, they're not guilty. They haven't been convicted of anything. So what we do is we interview folks either at the time that they are arrested or when they are up at the jail. We do an interview and an assessment on them to determine risk. And for those individuals that could be safely released into the community, we will, recommend that we'll try and advocate for their release, whether it be through their attorneys or we provide assessments to the courts that they can use when making that bail decision. We also provide pretrial supervision. So based on their risk to the community, we will set conditions for them to check in with our office. We will make sure that they get connected with any supportive services that can help them during that process. If they have any types of substance abuse issues or concerns, we can make recommendations for treatment and make sure that they can get connected to those services as early as possible. We also monitor the pretrial population at the Berks County Jail. That started probably over a decade ago. We started to do that because you often hear in the news that, there's 80% of people in jail are there pretrial, where they haven't served a sentence. What we wanted to do is take a look at that. And what we have honestly found is there's a difference between a true pretrial population and the pretrial population. So the pretrial population is anyone who has a bail. That number does hover around, I would say, like 55% of the people that are in Berks County Jail. We took it a step further to say, well, what is the true pretrial population? Those people that are only held there on a bail, because there are some folks that have a bail, but they also have a detainer of some sort. It may be domestic relations has a detainer, or adult probation, or something like that. So we want to look at those folks who are truly there just because they can't afford to get out. That number typically hovers around like 25 to 30%. So I am very proud to say in Berks County, we are doing a good job, because there are some people that will need to be in jail because they have a flight risk or there's a danger to the community. But we have a very good system set up with our district attorney, public defenders, to make sure that those people, we limit the amount of people that are in jail that don't need to be there. Our pretrial service program also offers services to our diversionary courts as well, our drug treatment court, DUI treatment court, and things like that. One of our newest initiatives that I talked about earlier is the Pardon Project of Berks County. And this program is absolutely life-changing. As I had talked about earlier, this will help individuals go through the process to erase their criminal record. And in Pennsylvania, the only way to get a criminal record totally erased from your record, or a criminal conviction erased from your record, is to receive a pardon. So this initiative started in collaboration with Senator Judy Schwenk's office, the District Attorney John Adams, Corey Walters from the Bar Association, and Magisterial District Judge Tanya Butler. We were presented with this initiative by an individual from the Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. And right away, all of us were totally on board, because this is absolutely an incredible initiative. The goals are to raise awareness that this process is available to everyone. Not everyone knows that anyone can do this. You don't need to have an attorney. The process itself is free. The Pardon Board, the Board of Pardons, has the application online. They have instructions and everything else. It is a fairly painless process. But the goal of the Pardon Project is to train pardon coaches who will help individuals submit the application, make sure that they have everything completed correctly. And there are 2 essay portions, and this is where our coaches come in. They will help tell their story, because when the Pardon Board looks at the application, it has all of their conviction, their court documents, and things like that. But there is an opportunity for the individual to tell how they have changed, what ways their criminal record has held them back, what barriers have they faced, where do they want to go in life? You know, if they were granted the pardon, what do they want to do? And how are they not the same person that they are today? So that's a really, really important part of the application. So we have I'll give a little plug here. We will always look for pardon coaches. So if anyone here would be interested in learning more, certainly reach out, because it is an incredible opportunity. There is an hour-long training that we provide on the process overall, and just ways to help the individuals tell their story. You do not have to be a criminal justice expert. You don't even have to know anything about the criminal justice system. What we are looking for, like I said, is someone who could be a good writer and just really wants to make a difference and help folks to put their best foot forward and explain why they need this this opportunity. So I am going to turn it over to my Peggy Kirshner, who is going to talk more about the reentry programs.
Thank you, Nikki. And welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I will talk about our reentry programs, which is actually the bulk, the majority of the work that BCPS does is in on the reentry side of the criminal justice system. Nikki talked about how we're kind of a soup to nuts from the beginning of someone getting arrested through their reentry back into the community. So our reentry programs serve a number of different populations. We have a program at the Berks County Jail for a very specific population in the jail. We serve individuals on state parole through a contract with the Department of Corrections. Our county program that I had just mentioned is funded through a contract with the County of Berks and through our partnership with United Way. And as Nikki said early on, and I know David said some of those statistics were stunning, and they really are. So we've got 8,000 individuals at any given time on some sort of supervision in Berks County. And when Nikki and I became the Wonder Twins back in 2012, our only reentry effort at that time was our program at the Berks County Jail. And it was a great program. It is a great program. It exists to this day. But we recognized, and it kind of became our personal mission within our organizational mission, to try to reach as many people possible within our target population. The 8,000 individuals on supervision are really just the surface. We also have individuals who have just come off of supervision because people are getting arrested and getting parole and coming off of parole at any given time. So we have a lot of folks in Berks County. My is flipping back and forth on the slides. You're good right where you are, Nikki. I'll give you a
I'm
sign.
trying to control something else on my screen, and apparently it's not working, so I'm going to let it go.
That's okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. So I will talk a little bit more later, about those different populations and some exciting new initiatives. But the slide you see now is the correct slide to kind of show our philosophy and our approach to reentry workforce development. And this approach was really learned with that initial programming at the Berks County Jail, where we learned by doing, we learned by research. We work with the University of Cincinnati Corrections Institute, who are leaders in criminal justice programming and research and developing evidence-based programs. So while workforce development is what you would call our programs, and that being said, finding employment is the ultimate goal, we know that those we serve will be best served if we can offer a robust program full of resources that individuals need. The vast majority of those we work with are living at a poverty level or below situation when we begin our work with them. So as you can imagine, they have many barriers to success. Their criminal record is but one of them. So all of our programs have a case management component. We do not feel it is in our client's best interest to just have a listing of employers and jobs and employers who may hire someone in the criminal justice system and kind of hand a list out to people who come in the door. We know that our folks could use some wraparound assistance and somebody help them learn the process of finding that job, learn the process of being a good employee, helping make a connection to that right job, and then most importantly is keeping that job. And retention support is a huge part of our case management. You might imagine that over the last couple of years, with the crazy world of the economy and so many businesses looking for employees, things are different than they were years ago. However, while finding a job may be a little easier than it was at one time, keeping that job isn't necessarily easier. And that is what we want to make sure we are providing for those we serve, that we don't just say, here's the job, good luck when you get it, and we'll see you down the road. We are there to make sure that they have the right job, that things are going well at work, and that they're continuing to receive the support and guidance that they need. One of the things specifically that we work on is financial literacy. We provide education in this regard early on in their work with us, and then continued coaching. This becomes especially important when people do have a job, and then it's not an abstract concept for someone who's unemployed and doesn't have income, but a very concrete concept when they have regular paychecks coming, and we want to make sure that they're spending that money in a way that will help them live a very stable lifestyle. In addition, we provide basic needs assistance because those we serve have so many needs. We know that we could do all the great preparation and have them learn about being a good employee and how to find a job. But if they obtain employment and they're told to show up in 2 days, and in order to work, they need a pair of work boots that might cost $40 or $50, they likely do not have that $40 or $50. So we have made a commitment for those involved in our programs that we will provide that additional support, those supportive services, bus passes to get to work, the clothing that they may need. IDs are very huge. In order to obtain employment legally, you need 2 forms of ID. When someone is just coming out of a time spent incarcerated or moving from place to place unstably, possessions get lost, and often IDs are one of those things that somebody is coming into us and just doesn't have. So that $32 that we could invest in that person may be the difference between them getting a job or not getting a job. You may switch that. Thank you. I talked about that we work with a variety of programs, or a variety of populations with programs. Some of our specialty programs that we wanted to highlight, and this is sort of subpopulations of the reentrant population. Our Work in Progress program is funded through the Berks County Office of Mental Health and Developmental Disabilities. And this is a very intensively case managed program where we serve individuals with serious mental illness who also have criminal justice system involvement. So these folks often have a relatively minor involvement in the criminal justice system, but a relatively major mental health situation. So employment really can mean the difference between their success and their failure. For them to have something meaningful to do and feel part of a community and have that support of a workplace is super important. So we provide what we call work in progress to that population. Nikki mentioned that our pretrial program is involved with our treatment or specialty courts in Berks County. In addition to our sort of pretrial involvement there, we also provide workforce development for those individuals. And those are folks who are in those programs are diversionary programs. If they complete successfully, they will not serve jail time. So part of that success and part of that stability that they can gain while they're in the program is certainly stable employment. And then our young adult program, which is actually a program on pause right now, but we felt it was worth mentioning. We're hoping to be able to reinstate this program over the coming months. This program, which was called our Prep for Young Adults, we had run for the previous about 2 years. Our first effort specifically geared to 18 to 24-year-olds. And the first time we had a educational component tied directly into our reentry and workforce efforts. And we piloted this program with a grant that our good friends at our Workforce Development Board received from the Department of Labor and Industry, Pennsylvania. And we partnered with Career Links Young Adult Program, who provided the educational component and some of the work experiences. And we provided our reentry expertise and workforce development expertise. And we're able, you see a picture here, that was just one of many young adult graduates who were able to obtain their GED with us and then go on either into training or stable employment. And the next program I'll talk about is our Rebuilding Reentrance and Reading program. This, or R3, this is really our highest level of service that we provide through a program. R3 was initially funded through a Federal Department of Labor grant in 2017. BCPS was one of 13 organizations nationwide who received a $1.2 million grant to develop and run a reentry training program. So that was life-changing for our organization. That was double our budget at that time. It's life-changing for the about 230 individuals who have graduated the program as of today. So the good news is that was about a 2.5-year grant. The program continues today, and that is thanks again to our good friends in the support of the county. We also have some grants through the Workforce Development Board that have helped support that, and some funding from the county Community Development Block Grant and Pennsylvania Labor and Industry. It is the only registered pre-apprenticeship program exclusively serving reentrants that exists in Pennsylvania. And our program is focused on the construction trades. So we have incorporated into this program all those factors that I talked about a few slides ago that we know are important for workforce development, but this is at a much higher level. And the one thing about getting a nice big federal grant is you're able to kind of take a look and sort of take your wish list of what you would throw in there for a good program if you knew you could have, could basically do what you wanted to help people be successful. So what we had learned over our years of doing workforce development is that a lot of traditional career and technical training opportunities just were out of reach for those we served. They might not qualify for some funding that's available for them, or even if there was funding available to pay for the training, it might not really sync up with their schedule, as they cannot take time off from work. They're likely on parole or probation supervision. Their family wants them to get a job. Their parole officer's telling them to get a job. And that tends to be what they have to do, and furthering their education or career training kind of goes to the wayside. So what we were able to do is build in a stipend into the program. So individuals, it's an 8-week program. We go through somewhere between 5 and 6 cohorts a year of this 8-week training. We have 2 weeks in between. At the end of the very intensive 8-week training, if the participants have attended everything and done their homework and shown up on time, they have the opportunity to earn a $2,300 stipend. So that helps them be able to put their work search on hold for a couple weeks and focus on being successful in this program. I talked about our partnership with the University of Cincinnati Corrections Institute. A very important part of this program is a curriculum that they have developed that is evidence-based and that has been proven to reduce recidivism. So that cognitive behavioral intervention you see there, that is a 30-some session course that is really just baked into the 8-week program, along with very important component, their career and technical education. We have some great partners. Our local workforce board, again, helped us put this grant together and kind of cobble this program together, and aligned us with the Reading Muhlenberg Career and Technology Center, who has been providing a portion of that training since the beginning. More recently, we have added a welding component to this sort of general construction training of the initial program. The Berks Career and Technology Center is contracted to provide that. We have also fairly recently added a component at the Goggle Works, which is a great community resource, and they have a wonderful wood shop there. And our participants are able to spend some time there each week of the program, learning a little bit different woodworking skills and some kind of finer skills in the construction area. And again, we talked about the case management. This program, we also have a mentor, and we are graduating individuals who are well prepared to be great employees. We have graduations every 10 weeks of this 8-week program, and often have numerous employers there, almost fighting sometimes over our graduates. Our employment team that Nikki introduced earlier, as our program staff is working with folks along the 8 weeks, they are taking a look at their progress and making connections with our employers, who then, we can take a look and see if we have a good match. So it is a registered pre-apprenticeship program, which means that we actually have 3 apprenticeship affiliates, 2 locations of Associated Builders and Contractors, and the BCTC are affiliated sponsors of this. So if any of our graduates are interested in pursuing their training and getting into an apprenticeship, which, the training in itself and the experience really sets these folks on a pathway to a very good job at a family sustaining wage. And if they want to invest that time either immediately upon graduation or at some point afterwards, they receive credit towards apprenticeships with our affiliated sponsors. So they may be able to knock off 6 months or so off a multi-year apprenticeship program. Thank you, Nikki. So one of our newest and biggest initiatives that we're really excited about is called Reentry Works. So earlier this year, we had an opportunity to apply to the United Way for a focus grant, where the area of interest was workforce development. And I talked about how Nikki and I kind of had that personal mission to, sort of chip away at that population of 8,000 plus in Berks County, who really we felt should be able to receive services from BCPS, but just are unable to because we didn't have the resources to do so. So when we saw the United Way's opportunity, we thought, you know what, this is an opportunity for our dream. We're very fortunate that we were selected to receive our grant, and United Way has helped not just make our dream come true, but really allowed us to launch this program that we believe will have a significant impact on not just the hundreds of people we will be able to serve over the 3 years that we have the grant, but in the community as a whole. So what this has allowed us to do is kind of just open our doors and say, if you have been involved in the criminal justice system, and that is either current involvement or past involvement, and you need help finding a job, come on in. So we launched the program on August 1st. I know Jess, who couldn't be here today, Jess Nunez directs the program, and I heard her speak about it the other day. And she said, prior to this, her office is right where our reception area is. On an almost daily basis, we were turning people away. People who needed help, who had a lot of barriers, who had justice system involvement, who came to our door because they heard we do good things for people. And we would have to say, if they kind of didn't fit one of our tracks of programming, if they weren't part of our county program or not on state parole, we likely would have to turn them away. Luckily, we have an awesome career link in Berks County, and we would send them there for employment services. But we knew for the specific reentry population and with the needs that they have, that we really wanted to be able to serve them. So since this program launched in August, Jess had quipped that she heard us only turn 2 people away, and they were people that we just could not find. They couldn't think of any involvement they had in the criminal justice system. So ours is one of the few offices that you come in that when we say if you've been arrested, and you say yes, that's actually a good thing. But that's okay, because that's what we're here for. So this program will run for 3 years. It, as I said, allows us to open those doors. And, we have numerous partners, referral partners in the criminal justice system who we are now able to say, when you are working with folks who are struggling in the area of employment, send them our way. So that is Reentry Works. And I'm going to try to wrap it up here because I know we have some questions. Another area and resource we have for the community and for our target population is the Reentry Resource Center. This was a program that we were able to start during the pandemic, again, thanks to our friends at the United Way. And this is a service that is designed to provide sort of emergency and emergent services for emergent needs. If we have individuals, while we know employment is super important to someone's stability, we also know that there are some individuals who are either fresh out of incarceration or who have been out as a reentrant for a while, and perhaps they're just not ready for employment. But they have housing instability. They don't have enough food. They don't have clothing. They have some mental health needs and are not sure where to go. They have children and the children have some needs. So this is sort of a one-stop shop to provide some actual resources, maybe a bus pass, maybe an ID, important information to, again, do a needs assessment and try to get people the services that they need right when they need it. We're very fortunate. We just found out about 2 weeks ago that we will be able to continue this. We had gotten a 1-year grant from United Way, and we had applied to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency to continue this program, and not just continue it, but to expand it. And we will now have it's one position now, we will have a second position that will be able to focus their efforts directly at the Berks County Jail to help when they have individuals who have a lot of issues and are going to need a lot of help being successful in the community. We can work with them prior to their release from jail and get some of those pieces in place for them. Also, BCPS is one of the founding members of the Berks County Forensic Task Force, Service Access Management, or SAM, a behavioral health provider here in Reading, is another founding member. This task force serves as Berks County's Reentry Coalition. So it is the entity that brings together 60, 70 social service providers, justice system entities to look at reentry in the community as a whole and provide information sharing and an opportunity to collaborate. We also keep a ready to reenter resource guide updated and on our website and available for other organizations and for ourselves to hand out to our clients, which is a very comprehensive guide to all kinds of resources that an individual with numerous barriers might need. Ta-da! So this is Kathleen and Lori, and they are on here today, and I don't think they'd have any way to know that we were going to show this slide. There they are. Aren't they awesome? So Nikki and I spent a lot of time talking about all the work we do with participants, with our clients, but an extremely important ingredient in the success of our workforce development programs is this dynamic duo right here. We knew early on when we began to do reentry workforce that while we could do all the evidence-based programming there is and as many wraparound services as possible and get people prepared to be great employees, but if we didn't have good connections in the community with employers who would hire these individuals, all our work would be for naught. So our team spends their time developing those relationships in the community. They love a field trip. And it's not just because they're fun, but it's because they know that people will be successful if they're in the right job. So as I mentioned before, we're not just, handing people a list of jobs or assigning, oh, this person, let's send them here. It's all about helping people find where they will succeed. What are their interests? What's their experience? But also, what is the job like? And we have a lot of manufacturing in Berks County, and sometimes manufacturing is loud or cold or dark or super fast paced. So they do a great job just developing these relationships with employers, learning about the companies so that when we do make a recommendation, if they're looking and interested in hiring a BCPS client, we do our best to ensure that it is going to be the right one. They're not out there trying to change people's policies on hiring. They're there to educate. I'm sure they kind of bust some myths while they're talking, because really, studies have shown that individuals with a criminal record are really no more likely to be unsuccessful on the job. Actually, there are some studies, which are the ones we like to look at, that show that our folks are sometimes more likely to be successful because they have more to lose. They have more motivation. They have a reason to stay, to be stable. And, we believe with the BCPS approach of that comprehensive wraparound service that, we're giving people what it takes, not handing them something on a silver platter. They do a lot of work on their own, and it's up to them ultimately if they succeed. But we make that, provide that hope and those opportunities for them. Volunteer opportunities. If you're interested in getting involved, we have numerous volunteer opportunities, and I won't read through them, but they are there. Nikki mentioned the Pardon Coach before. If you're interested, our next slide, I believe, has, actually, we have some upcoming events too. After this, we'll show you the contact information. But if I've piqued your interest, on Monday, we're going to be at the DoubleTree for our Returning Citizens Career Fair. Our dynamic duo put on 2 awesome career fairs a year. We will have over 40 employers there and hopefully several hundred job seekers. If you want to stop by and check it out, if you want to stop by and volunteer, that's great with us. And then on October 27th, up at the Reading Muhlenberg Career Technology Center, we will be celebrating our 5th anniversary of R3, because we are super proud of that program and proud of our community for supporting it and allowing us to continue that past the initial funding for it. So now there is our contact information, and I will stop there and see if we have questions.
Great. Well, Peggy and Nikki, thank you. The breadth of what you guys do is just phenomenal. It's just amazing. And for me, one of the neat things about what you do is the idea of collaboration, of working with partners and identifying partners to get things done. That really is very significant. Thank you for that last slide. People asked how they can get more information about several of the programs that you talked about. I'm gonna wade back through it. I know if he's still, yeah, Dan's still here. I always have to call on Dan Fogarty at these events. And I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to go back through some of what you talked about. As I said in the chat function, the statistics, Nikki, that you presented were just incredible, just devastating. And I think the one that hit me the hardest was the one about 1 out of every 2 children has a family member. So how does that impact on what you do and what you see, the people you're seeing?
Well, in many ways, I think it's really a driver for success for many. We work with a wide breadth of the reentrant population in our county jail. Those individuals are not away as long as folks are who are in the state system, but
Mhm.
still, in the life of a child, a
It's
couple
disruptive.
months is significant. It's very disruptive. So one of the on the volunteer slide, our Mothers and Fathers Voice, which we kind of brushed over, which is not a program that deserves to be brushed over, but in the interest of time, that's something we have been providing for years. And it is a way that parents can stay connected to children. There were some church groups many years ago who were interested in helping with this effort and came to us, and the prison has been an awesome partner in allowing us. Now the pandemic has kind of turned this upside down, and we've just kind of gotten back doing it, but we'll pretend the pandemic didn't happen. Weekly, pre-pandemic, we were sending volunteers into the jail to allow individuals to read a storybook and be videoed doing so, and then we get that book and a copy of that video to the child in the community to maintain that connection. It's a great, boost for literacy, and really for some, the only connection that they may have with that parent while they're in there. So that's just one small thing that we do in terms of families, but really, I think that stunning statistic shows that ripple effect that Nikki mentioned.
Right.
And, it's one thing to be, angry at a person for committing a crime, and feel like you just want to punish them forever. But the reality is, 98% of individuals who go to jail will be back in a community at some point. And if not for their sake, for that of their children, anything we could do to help them lead a stable life and not recidivate, I think is resources well spent. And it's that ripple effect. A child who has a parent incarcerated is 7 times more likely to become incarcerated themselves someday. So if we can reach them through that
Break that.
stability and stabilize that household. And while we're talking about the statistics, I just quickly looked at the chat. John had asked about the recidivism rate.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the national statistics are anywhere between like 43 and 46% after 1 year recidivate. So that's not very good. That's kind of awful. There's very little things that you would, allow for it only works about 60% of the time. And that's just general people getting out of jail. So our R3 program, which includes that recidivism reducing curriculum, typically, and it changes as we measure quarterly, but it is generally like 5% or under after a year. So that is a dramatically better
Yeah.
success rate.
That's very significant. Earlier in my career, I did a lot of work in the healthcare arena and did some stuff relative to behavioral health, and they felt good when they had a 70% success rate of people not coming back. So the number you just talked about is phenomenal. Could you talk a little bit more about the financial literacy and how important that is? Are a lot of the people that you're seeing need some help working through their finances?
Yes. I think a lot of people in general need help with that.
Yes.
I know all of our staff sometimes are interested in some of that. We were actually very fortunate years ago. We started doing financial literacy because the United Way had kind of small focused grants available years and years ago for organizations to add financial literacy components. And we happened to be able to hire on a part-time basis an individual who had a career in being a financial coach. So that really helped BCPS kind of develop our our process and our program. So as I said, we provide some basic information early on as people are working with us. There's a lot of classes and kind of education about finding a job and keeping a job. And then financial literacy is right along there as a mandatory class. But what we learned is it's one thing to just tell somebody something once. I mean, nobody learns after just hearing it once.
Right.
And it's an abstract concept for our clients who don't have work and don't have an income. So to talk about budgeting and how to handle bank accounts and things like that really is much more meaningful when they get that first paycheck. So what we do is really kind of grade checking on somebody's budgeting and how that is going in as part of their case management and their retention support once they get that job. So that
Okay.
we have some organizations that come in and do for our 3 program, some even further education and training with budgeting.
And
I have
also
one more.
assistance with their credit score as well.
yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
at how to repair a credit score and increase that, because there are, employers and various other individuals who look at that and take that in consideration. So that's another
Good.
service.
I have a couple more questions, but I can see Dan's getting impatient, so I'll call
No,
him.
no, keep going. Keep going, Dave.
But if you're okay, I will ask one more question
Yeah,
and then
please.
we'll come to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
How much is transportation a challenge for the people that you work with?
That is probably one of the biggest barriers that we face, or that our clients face. Not only trying to find transportation to work. We do have bus passes. I know Peggy said that we did that, but also there are a lot of folks that if they work second shift or a different shift, or if there's employment that's off a bus route, that is a huge barrier. So we also use our development dollars to provide Uber gift cards, things like that. We connect folks with the rideshare program that's out there, educate them that is available as well. But that is a large barrier. Not only do they not have transportation, but another issue is there can be individuals that have their license suspended for non-driving related crimes. That's something is another odd thing that Pennsylvania does, and just another barrier that is present for our folks.
And you're on.
Yeah, well, Dave, thanks for the, and Peggy and Nikki, great presentation. Glad to see your team here. This has been a little bit of a journey for us at the board. About 6 years ago, the board identified working with reentrants as something we weren't very good at. Even relative to other counties like Lancaster County, you had a lot better programming. But we connected up with BCPS, and I'm happy to say in 2022, Berks County, not the board, but Berks County is really recognized as a community that frankly is well ahead of most of the rest of the Commonwealth in this area. So that's because we have these kind of partnerships and you guys promote these opportunities. So, they make us look good. So, our thanks to BCPS for that. The other thing I would say is, in my mind, the most important number you heard here today was 40, right? 40 is the number of employers that are signed up to be at the DoubleTree on Monday looking for talent. And I would say it's a reflection of this good work, the reputation, but also where our labor market is, that I think Kathleen and Lori would probably confirm that, I'm guessing that when you did this event 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe you had a dozen employers, some of them there for out of the goodness of their heart, some of them because they weren't that great of places to work, right? If you go on Monday, the quality of the employers that are there, the quality of the careers that they have to offer are really a good microcosm of the quality of employers we have here in Berks County, right? So this is what we work with a lot of populations with barriers to employment. I would venture to say that I've seen more change in employer attitudes with this population over the last 6 years than any other population that is tough to serve.
Wow.
And I would just say is, you know, as employer, is everybody you hire that comes out of a BCPS program going to be a slam dunk great employer? No. But you got to compare it against what's your hit rate on your general population hiring these days, right? And I would say what you get with BCPS is some risk management. All hiring is a risk. It usually is about 6 months after you hire somebody. If they're still there, you know whether you made a mistake or not. And these guys can really help you through it. So if you think about it a little bit, if someone's doing well, they're there 30 days and then they don't show up for work on Monday morning, right? If you don't have a partner like BCPS, you're dealing directly with that employee who isn't there at work. With BCPS, you got more support. And, you know, how come Susie didn't show up for work today? And Kathleen or Lori are going to check, and they can come back to you that later that day and say, Susie's got a couple things to work out. Is it okay if she's back to work on Wednesday morning? Or Susie ain't coming back, right?
Yeah.
Where else as an employer do you get that kind of, and the other thing too is they placed Susie there because Susie looked like she would be a good fit for your organization. So it's just, it's an extra level of support for your recruitment process, and the employers increasingly across the county get that. So kudos to you guys.
Great. Well, Peggy and Nikki and everybody there, thank you guys. It's just phenomenal what you're doing and the impact you're having on people. And it's just incredible. And I'm glad we got a chance to at least highlight a little bit of that. I know that we have had the question asked, and we'll share it with people, how to get more information about the different programs that you guys offer and how to engage in the program. Felix, thank you. You're going to tell the mayor about it. That's good. Thank you. And encourage him to support it. As I said, we will send the video to everybody. We'll send what we've gotten in the comments and questions out to you guys for you to be able to have and see. And we look forward to seeing people next Tuesday for our next spotlight, which is on Jumpstart Germantown and whether it should come to Reading. And see hopefully some of you then. Thank you again very much. Such a great program, such an inspiration for people.
Thanks,
Thank you.
John. Thanks, Dave.
Great job, everybody. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.